how are debts divided in a divorce case in New York State?
Debts are considered divisible in a divorce case so long as they're marital debts. So that is really the precise definition. Did the debt accrue during the time of the marriage? If the answer is yes, then generally speaking, debt, similar to assets, are divisible 50-50. Sometimes you'll see the other spouse say, well, gee, I shouldn't have to pay or share in paying the $10,000 that my husband has on his Visa card because the Visa card was used to purchase all of his clothes. Well, then one would want to look at all of the charges going back at least several months or a year or so to see whether there is arguably an exception there. So the court has to usually follow the general rule, which is, all assets and debts are divisible 50-50 as of time of commencement. However, under New York state law, we have what's called equitable distribution. Equitable is another word for fair. So any given judge can say, well, look, I don't think it's fair, and I agree with the wife, using the gender pronouns in this example, I agree with the wife that she shouldn't have to pay for the husband going out and having a field day at a clothing store and buying clothes for himself in the 2 months leading up to the divorce because he's obviously going to get the benefit of those clothes. And the wife is not going to share in any of the benefit of those clothes once they get divorced. So sometimes it really depends on the timing of the purchases. Sometimes it depends on the purpose for which those purchases are made. The court is really not going to go back too far, though, because there is a leading case which basically says, and that's called Mahoney-Buntsman, basically says that the courts are not going to second-guess the spouses on how they spent money during the time of the marriage. So that's really not something that the court wants to get into in a divorce case and essentially challenge the wisdom of certain purchases. It's a general rule that's applied in most situations, which is debts are divisible 50-50. Now, there is an exception to that, which is called marital waste. So if one party can show, well, gee, there's a lot of debt, but that debt was run up because the party was, going off to the casino and running up a gambling debt, or they ran up a debt because they were, taking out their paramour to lavish restaurants or buying expensive jewelry for their paramour or something along those lines, then they can argue that the debt is the result of marital waste. But otherwise, it's generally divided 50-50.